Good morning, Colts Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the No Horsing Around podcast, brought to you exclusively by the Lounge Room Network. As always, we're just two dudes talking Colts. We're your hosts, Stephen and Zack, and we are joined today, you guys, by the host of the Loser Lounge podcast, Mason and Ian, and they're going to jump in here with us, and we're going to talk some Julio. There's only one thing to talk about. It is Julio. It's all the information that's coming out, all the rumors, all the innuendo. We're trying to all kind of piece it all together. As always, we ask you guys to please rate, review, subscribe, share, follow, whatever it is you do on whatever platform it is you do it on. Please go do it. Also, because I can feel Zack looking at me, we're going to plug the merch again. You guys know on the link tree, go hit it. Go find yourself some No Horsing gear, shirts, masks,
phone cases,
yoga pants,
leggings, hoodies, sweatpants,
car decals.
You want something else? I don't give a damn. Throw in the DMs and we'll throw it on there.
Yes. Cups, all sorts of good stuff. Go hit that up. So you know how we do things. We don't hesitate. We jump right in. Julio, you guys. Man, what do we think, Zack? I'm gonna start with you. We'll kind of work our way around. What do you think of everything? You know, he's the Colts are the betting favorite. Obviously, we're not really sure. There's a ton of stuff out there. You know, as of today, the recording, there's the bomb that got dropped on FS1 with Shannon Sharpe literally calling Julio during the show, and Julio saying no, he's out of Atlanta. So, what do you think, man?
So, my 2 cents on this is anytime, I kind of alluded to it on the last podcast, anytime you have a team who has a lot of money left in salary cap space this late in the, the off season, there's always going to be those direct correlations kind of connecting those dots back to the Colts. For me, I just don't see it. I just don't see that Ballard's going to do this. The guy's 32 years old. He's been, he's had a little bit of an injury riddled last 2 seasons anyways. And on top of that, I think it stunts the growth of Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman Jr., right? Like he's invested so much in the wide receiver position. He brought back T.Y. to be that good, solid, veteran mentor for those 2 younger guys. And then you got Zach Pascal kind of rounding that first 4 up on the wide receiver group. I just don't see it as being a Ballard move. I will say this, though. One day, I don't know what day that'll be, one day Ballard's going to shock us all, and he is going to make kind of an all-in crazy move like this. I just don't feel like this year it just doesn't to me. I don't believe it. I don't care what betting odds we are. Now, if we're wrong, I'm obviously going to be fired up if we get a talent like that. But for me, man, I don't really see that happening for the Indianapolis Colts. I think we're set on the offensive side of the ball this year. I really do. With signing, Eric Fisher, left tackle, I think that's going to be our last signing. Mason, what do you think about that, man? What are your thoughts on Julio?
I'm going to be on the opposite side of the spectrum. I think that even since we are the betting favorites, I really think that this would be, the all-in move that you're talking about that I think Ballard makes. Like, obviously, I'm okay if we don't get him because of how much depth we have on our offense and, having Carson back, re-signing T.Y. We have our pieces. Like, the offense will already have, another weapon in Marlon Mack coming back. So there's already, moving pieces and crazy dimensions that this offense is going to show. But adding Julio to that mix, I really think that if we get Julio, we trade for him, it's going to make the Colts the most balanced offense in the National Football League, and we will potentially be Super Bowl contenders. I say we put our chips in, we have enough cap space. Julio Jones had more receiving yards last season than any other wide receiver on our roster, and it was a down year for him, and he's older than T.Y. So, I know he's on the end, but his end is still better than any of our wide receivers top at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. I mean, I know I'm probably on the side with Zack on I don't think it's the move he's going to make. We talked about it last week. Obviously my breakout player that I named was Paris Campbell. So I don't want anybody to stunt that. I want to see what he can do if he can stay healthy, looking slick in his new number 1 jersey. But, I think that the all-in home run move, Zach, that you talk about too, is I see it coming on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know why, or on the line, because it's just what Ballard does. He doesn't go big on those peripheral positions. So, Ian, what do you think, man? Where do you are the deciding vote? Well, we'll see.
Obviously getting a talent like Julio is something I'd be excited for, but it's one that I don't think is going to happen. I don't think he's coming to the Colts. We're deep at wide receiver. It's already going to be hard enough to find some of these guys snaps. Paris Campbell, like you said, I'm looking for him to have that breakout season that we all know he's been capable of since he was drafted in 2019. And I think he'll stay healthy. It looks like he's put on weight, so those injury concerns could be out the window. I don't think Ballard make a move like this, especially with Atlanta looking to get a first rounder out of it at the very least.
Yeah, and I think that is the best point that you make right there is what is Atlanta actually looking for? Obviously, the move's not happening right now. I think the numbers I saw were like dead cap in Atlanta was like $40-something million if he's pre-June 1st. Isn't that right? Post-June 1st, it's like 14 for them. It's still a hefty cost for the Colts to make the trade, but that's the key. I think that's a great point on what they're asking. I know me and Zach talked a little bit about it last week. Zach, what do you think, man?
Well, here's the deal. I don't think it's the cost, really. I really don't think it has anything. I think what it would take to get him in there. Now, I will say this. You mentioned that power move that Julio made today, talking to Shannon Sharp on FS1. That really just killed some of the leverage that the Falcons had.
Do you think he knew that, Zach? Do you think
Absolutely.
He knew he was live on air?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he went out there, and I think he just kind of crushed their leverage. What I've heard, and it's just all speculation right now, is a second rounder will get them. And I have a hard time believing that, once that June 1st date rolls around, that there's not going to be some suitors out there. I think they're trying to drive that price up and get that first round pick. But I think they're just ready to move on. Julio doesn't want to be there. They're going to probably take the best offer that they can get. Julio wants to play that's what he said. He wants to win a ring. That's his big deal. So now that kind of eliminates so many teams, from the equation, because there's only so many teams that truly have a chance at winning the ring. Man, I don't know. If you ask me, gun to my head, I think there's going to be a little bit of a bidding war at the very end. I think they sneak in and get just one first-round pick. I just have a hard time believing that, that they're not going to get at least a first-round pick for Julio from a team who feels like they're literally one player away from making the Super Bowl or making a Super Bowl run this year.
Yeah, I think it's important, too, like when we talk about Julio, like you brought out, too, he's had a last couple seasons, a little injury bug, but he's kind of been getting hit with this label of injury prone, which he's not. Outside, it's kind of like Carson. We talk about Carson a lot. Me and you do, Zach, a lot on the misnomer that I feel that he's an injury prone player. He just gets injured at really poor times. But it's important to remember, like Julio, I'll give Mason this, and Mason, I'm going to go to you after this, is Julio is a ridiculously talented player. He's probably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. I might steal something from you, Zach, that you said about DeForest Buckner and say that he might be the most talented receiver of his generation right now to come in the league. The best and the funniest thing I've ever heard about Julio was another corner talking about guarding him and saying it's not fair because it's like guarding an avatar. One of the big blue people from the movie says it's not fair for him. So, I'll give Mason that. Mason, all of us have said that we don't think it's happening. So Try to convince me, man. I want to hear a defense.
Right. Well, the reason I think that we have a huge possibility of getting him is because, one, I know, according to the betting odds, everybody thinks the Colts is going to get him. But I mean, obviously, they're talking about the Colts getting him on ESPN. But Julio's been linked to the Patriots. He's been working out with Derrick Henry. So there's going to be people are saying, oh, what if he goes to the Browns? Like, speculation with any team. But specifically for our team, I feel like the Colts haven't had like a true number one since T.Y. was in his prime. So us getting Julio, it really puts our offense of potential to the max. Because not only could we attack with our 3 running backs that are amazing, we have 2 very young and athletic tight ends, plus Jack Doyle over the middle as a security blanket. Then we drafted a 6'5" wide receiver in the 7th round that Julio could help develop, plus Michael Pittman. So there wouldn't only be locker room positives from it, but Julio's hungry, like Zach said. Julio wants to win a ring. Why not come to the Colts that have one of the most balanced teams? Like you guys were saying, Julio went on FS1 and said, I'm out of here, killing the Falcons' leverage, putting the leverage on his side. What if he's like, hey, trade me here? Saying, hey, I want to go to the Colts, or, So I feel like with everything pointing towards Julio, the Colts should jump on it because the Falcons aren't in panic. And just like with the Eagles trade, Ballard can say, hey, I'll give you a 3rd and a 4th, or I'll give you a 2nd with a conditional to a 1st, and leave it on the table and just wait and wait. And then the Falcons will crawl back to the deal. Or like you guys will say, it'll be a bidding war. But with the Colts having enough cap space and where the team is like position-wise, depth-wise, like why not make this move? Sure, it's going to hurt a round or 2 of draft capital in the next year, but Ballard has worked around it, and Ballard has made do with what he got. Getting a superstar wide receiver at the end of his career, like, that's only going to help us. There really aren't any negatives besides stats. But people can give up stats for Super Bowl wins, right? I mean, isn't that what a team's about?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll push back on Mason a little bit is the idea that Ballard's going to be able to put a deal on the table and leave it. I think, and you mentioned it, and Zach mentioned it too, is that I don't think with Carson we could do that. We were able to do it with Carson. Carson's value was so low because of the season that he had, and I love Carson. I'm so excited to have him in Indy, but we were able to do that because no one else wanted him. No one wanted to give up anything, and Howie Roseman completely mismanaged and bungled the entire situation. With Julio, I think I would say probably a half a dozen teams that are going to be really interested really quickly and offer. Someone's going to offer something stupid. Like I do think that. I mean, I see Ian shaking his head, so I want to hear him chime in. Do you think someone's going to offer something stupid?
I don't know if necessarily stupid, but I do see a lot of teams going after him. I mean, looking on Twitter, Jeremy Fowler put out top 4 teams with enough cap space at least are the Chargers, Colts, Niners, and Patriots. 3 out of the 4 I see a need at wide receiver, and I don't think we're one of them. I know we kicked the tires pre-draft, but I think getting a wide receiver in the draft is kind of telling that I don't think we'll look more into it. Yeah, it's hard to say.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I think it's a great point. It is a great point that we kicked some tires a little bit, but man, we Zach, me and you talked about last week. We're one of the youngest teams in the entire NFL. They've invested 2nd-round picks in Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell. We've got a young receiving core. We struggled. I know on our show, when we on this one we talked and we struggled to figure out who the 5 was, and then we really struggled because there's 3 other receivers on our roster we like. On do the Colts even carry 6? It's kind of funny and we'll get into that. We'll get into it in just a minute with it. Of the betting odds favorites, man, there's one team on those top 4 that scares the living daylights out of me. It would be the 49ers. That scares the bejesus out of me. Zach knows how I feel about the Niners and Trey Lance and all of that. For those who maybe have just chimed in, or maybe you guys didn't hear, I have come out and said that I believe Trey Lance is going to be the best quarterback to come out of the draft and have the best career. But I also got slammed because I compared it, rightfully so, from Zach himself too, that I compared Trevor Lawrence's potential career to Andy Dalton's. So I rightfully slammed for it. But so let's kind of segue this with Julio. You've thrown it. Everyone's kind of seen the odds. I think we know where Mason sits. That maybe Mason thinks that it's going to be the Colts. But let's kind of go around. Where do we actually think, like, with him? Do we think he ends up with the Colts? If not, I know Zach has some like really, really good takes on some teams that I hadn't thought of, and there's one that I really like for him that I might steal it if he doesn't say it. But Zach, let's start with you, man. Who do you? One, do you think there's actually a possibility? And then if not, where do we think he goes, man?
So I'll let you keep that one that we talked about on the podcast last week.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to let you keep that one. The direct parallel, and everybody is going to want to gravitate to Kyle Shanahan being with Julio Jones back in Atlanta. San Francisco's an aggressive football team, right? They're just not scared to make those moves and kind of do the roster mechanics, and the way that John Lynch puts his team together is almost a thing of beauty, really. I mean, he does such a good job at using his draft picks and gaining draft picks and just kind of flipping that around. I'm not going to go with that one. I'm going to go with the super, super, super dark horse in this one. A team I've not heard one word about, actually. I'm going to go with the team who I feel like is in win now mode right now, ready to take the next step, and with a general manager who will always go all in for his guy. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills, Julio Jones, coming out of nowhere, because I think they feel like they're one player away. I think they feel like they had Kansas City, and if they would have just had one more weapon for Josh Allen out there, can you imagine Julio Jones, Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley on the inside? That's a tough night for anybody, So I know that's probably not going to happen, but that's my dark horse, man. I'm rolling with the Bills.
We talk every day, Zach, and you have never said that one to me.
I had to keep that little nugget for myself, man. I knew the ball was coming.
That is frightening. If that happens, my pick of them losing to the Bills this season looks a little better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go last. So let's round it, Mason. Let's hear. If it's not the Colts, I know you feel the Colts.
If it's not,
but who do you think?
If it's not the Colts, honestly, like Zach said, like super dark horse, like nobody's talking about it. I was kind of just brainstorming this in my head. I feel like this team has the draft capital for it. I don't know if they have the cap space for it. They definitely have the draft capital for it. I was thinking, like, what if the Dolphins got Julio Jones?
That's not a bad one. I mean, they need more talent.
Julio Jones, Jalen Waddle, Preston Williams, Devontae Parker, Tua.
Hey, really
pretty
quickly,
good.
too, I feel the need to give a shout out to Mason that he totally called on a mock draft Jalen Waddle to the Dolphins when no one else was doing it. It shocked me. But that's an interesting one. I'm loving the dark horses. And I don't know if you guys have just like some sort of little bond where maybe you guys talked beforehand and we're going all AFC East here. So let's see what happens with Ian. Let's see who Ian picks.
Well, I think with Atlanta obviously being in the NFC, I'm basically going to throw out any NFC team. I don't think that's going to be a desperation move if they really want to get rid of him. That's the only time he'll go to NFC team. Really, I have it narrowed down to 2 of them. And I'll go ahead and say my number one, not just to keep with the theme, but a move that everyone would hate is New England. I know he's expressed his desire to want to play with Cam Newton a bit. Obviously, Bill Belichick and Kraft, they'd be the type to make that kind of move to pair with all their other free agent moves.
Yeah.
I think everyone in the NFL would hate that. A lot of people are thinking that he's going to turn Mac Jones into the next Tom Brady. So
I just
that
threw up
weapon
in my
there.
mouth just now, man.
I know.
Hey, speaking of that, did anyone else see that the Patriots gave Mac Jones number 50
Yeah.
in their mini
5-0?
Yes. 50.
Please,
number
please,
50, not even a quarterback number.
please show that on national television. Please.
I feel like Belichick doesn't even look at these numbers for rookies. He just tosses them a jersey and says, "Hey, get out there."
Here you go. He probably don't even know who the rookies are.
Yeah.
Man, y'all legit went all AFC East. So I'm totally stealing on mine. I'm stealing Zach's. So for those who listened to last week's episode, y'all are going to know because he threw it out here. Well, he threw out 2. I'm going to throw out the fake one. I'm going to give you my real one. The one that was really interesting that we discussed last time was the Browns of a swap of OBJ for Julio.
Ooh.
Me personally, I said I would take it. I'd take it if I was the Browns because I don't think Odell fits there. Zach doesn't really think he wants to play football anymore either. So that's kind of the little one. But the one that I really like, and I thought about it more, Zach, after you said it last time, is, man, it would be an interesting one, is the Green Bay Packers. Is to see, it's a team that never makes moves. They don't do stuff like this, but they have pissed Aaron Rodgers off beyond belief. And what better way to smooth things over than to go get him a shiny new toy? It just would be insane. You pair him on the other side of the ball with Devontae Adams, and then you got Julio on one side, and you've got probably the best thrower of the football that I've seen maybe my entire life. And I love Peyton Manning. We're a Colts podcast. I'm not going to discourage that. I'm saying pure thrower of the football. Aaron Rodgers is probably the best I've ever seen. And you're going to give him that, man, pack it up. But like Ian said too, that's a dark horse, man. All y'all's are great ones because they're outside the NFC. And Atlanta would be stupid and silly to send him inside the NFC, especially to a team in the Packers who beat up on them not long ago. So, I mean, it would be an interesting thing. It would be, I mean, it's going to get settled. I don't know how you guys sit with it. It's going to get settled in the next couple of weeks, in the next week, I think. Like when that June 1st date hits, he's out of Atlanta. He's out of Flower and Branch. He's headed somewhere. They're not holding on to him. I mean, just simply what happened today. I can't imagine how furious the Falcons front office is that A, he picked up the phone, and B, he put it on blast on national television that he was done. Not that he wanted out, not that he had requested out, that he was out. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I will be the first to say that there will be an emergency podcast of No Horsing Around if Julio actually does get traded to the Colts, because I just don't see it happening. We'll just see what happens. But so I want to transition. I want to touch on one thing. So Mason, Ian, you guys may have not seen this, but I told Zach, I said, I gotta talk about this because I got fired up, Zach, in the pre-show, and I want the world to hear it. So I put out a poll that asked in the division who the most annoying fans were. And of course, I'm not listing ours because we're not annoying. We're very calm and rational fan base. I don't know if you guys have been on Colts Facebook, but sometimes it's terrifying. But I had the Titans, the Jaguars, and the Texans. And it was overwhelmingly the Titans, like 78% on almost, I think, 200 votes. It was a pretty big poll. I I want to hear from each one of you, who is the most annoying fan base in the AFC South? So let's. I'm going to start. You know what? I'm not going to start with Zach because I want to build it. I want him to build his anger with what he came. So Ian, I'm going to start with you, man. Who is the most for you? Who is the most annoying fan base inside the division?
Well, obviously before this year, I would have to agree with that poll, the Titans. And I think it's just because they've had the little sliver of success in recent years. They think they can talk all this crap when they, Reggie said it, 2 times in 20 games. But after the draft, it's looking like the Jaguars might be climbing up that board. They're all going nuts for ETN and Trevor Lawrence. So I think it's starting to be neck and neck between Titans and Jags.
Lordy. Did anybody else see that Trevor Lawrence sent them to voicemail 3 times during the draft? They tried to call him on draft night, and he sent them to voicemail 3 times. They had to get Urban Meyer to call him from his cell phone so Trevor would pick up the phone. So Trevor Lawrence apparently doesn't want to be in Duval County either. Mason, who you got, man? Who's the most annoying fan base to you?
I'm going to have to agree with the sentiment of the poll and say, based off of my personal experience and what I've seen on Twitter, the Titans, like Ian said, the percentage of success that they've had, so just say it's gotten to their heads a little bit, and they like to fantasize and think like they own the Colts or they own the AFC South, and they really don't. Haven't had really much problems with Texans or Jags fans. Maybe that's because I don't dig deep on that side of Twitter, or it just doesn't really pop up because they're usually not relevant.
Mason just really quickly. Okay. So I saved the best because I feel like we're gonna get fired up Zach. So Zach.
Oh well, let me just start talking
man?
right now. It's the Titans. It's nobody else. It's the Titans. But they just suck. I mean, let's just be honest right now. And if you're a Titans fan, you listen to this podcast, God bless your soul. But your team sucks, anyways. I absolutely hate the Tennessee Titans. I absolutely hate their coach. I hate their quarterback. I hate every player on their team, and I hate every fan in their stadium. So that's all I need to say. I mean, I just do not like the Tennessee Titans, and I don't know why they rub me the wrong way, but they just do. They're like fool's gold, man. I hate to be carrying on, but like every year they're like, oh my gosh, the Titans might take the next step. They're not winning the Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill. I'm sorry, man. You're not winning the Super Bowl with Ryan Tannehill. It's over. It's done. Forget about it. That's just me. I'm out on that one.
It'll be a matter of time before Derrick Henry tries to pull a Julio Jones.
Hey,
Exactly.
Goodness.
I like your fool's gold comment, bro, but that fool's gold thing, not about the Titans, dude. That's the Chargers. That's the Chargers fan base. Every year. This is our
That's
year.
a good
This
one
is
too.
our year. And
That's a good one. I mean, for me, so I mean, obviously I created the poll. Everybody knows who listens to this podcast that I live in Tennessee. I live in Nashville. And I go to the Colts Titans game pretty much every year. Didn't go last year. Will be at the game this year. I got a lot of really good friends who are Titans fans. But the company I work with is Titans season ticket holders. That's how I go to the game. But it's the Titans. It is. It's a close second with the Jags. Ian, I give that to you. I've got the Jags that close second because I can't stand Urban Meyer. I've gone on record that it is going to be a dumpster fire. I think my hot take, Zach, wasn't that. I think I said, I just love throwing stuff to the wall and see what's going to stick. I said he's going to pull a Bobby Petrino and he's going to be out before the end of this year because he's going to be so awful. Zach kind of helped rear me back in a little bit to he will be out within 2 years. So I can roll with that one. Zach kind of sometimes had to rear me. He had to pull me back a little on that take. But it's the Titans. The thing with the Titans is that living here, I hear it. I hear it all the time that they are amazing. I'm sitting in my office. The Titans send out their swag gift to the season ticket holders. It comes in, and it's a pennant for their division title. And my boss puts it up right across from my desk so I can see it every day. Let's keep in mind my boss is my older brother. So he likes to pick, but he put that right in my desk and he bragged about it. They also sent a really nice book, very nice. I'll tweet out a picture of the page of the recap of the Colts ass whooping they gave to the Titans, because that's in there too. I'm with Zach. It's frustrating because they've not really been relevant. Living in Tennessee, they are not Nashville's team. Nashville passed them up a while back because the Predators became their team. Everyone rallies around the Preds, especially now. This is not an NHL. Zach knows I'm a big Preds guy. 2-2 in the series. Everything's going to shift to that way with the Titans. And the Titans, they run the mouth. And what happened? I think I said, Zach, didn't I say I could throw for 200 yards if I have a 2,000-yard rusher like Derrick Henry behind me? It's the Titans. It is. But you had a great point, Zach, of probably a lot of this is due to the fact that they've won and they're running their mouth.
Yeah, the thing is, what's up with them like standing in the middle of other teams like in the field, just like starting. I think it's just like this Mike Vrabel thing that he wants people to have this, this badass bad guy, motive. He wants his team to take on kind of his personality and everything. But for me, man, I don't care for it. I just think it's stupid. I'm just not a Titans fan. It is what it is. Sorry if I've offended anybody here, but that's my team. I'd vote for that. And but a lot of it has to do with, you'll see it gravitate, like Ian said earlier, the Jags will start coming up in that poll if you run that poll again, because a lot of it's recency bias, like who is good and who are we having, the most trouble beating at the time. Because we've actually been more effective against the Titans really than even the Jags in the last recent years. And now that they have Trevor Lawrence, unfortunately, your prediction is not going to hold true, and he will be better than Andy Dalton. So it's not going to be fun, going against him for the next 10 or 12 years. We're going to have our work cut out for us. But hey, man, we got a hell of a team. It's going to be awesome. I think this year, like I said in previous podcasts, I think the Indianapolis Colts are this year's Buffalo Bills, man. I think we're going to come out of nowhere and just ascend all season long, and just I don't know that we win a Super Bowl. I don't know we're playing for a Super Bowl, but if we're in that AFC Championship game, man, I'm not surprised, not one bit, actually.
Yeah, and I feel the need. So Ian and Mason and everyone who listens, I want to take a second and clarify my Trevor Lawrence, Andy Dalton take. Zach knows what I mean when I say it. It's more for me. It's more of the situation. Andy Dalton is nowhere near as talented as Trevor Lawrence, but the Bengals are just as dysfunctional as the Jags. I came out and said I felt like the Jamar Chase pick was probably one of the worst picks of the first round because you're not protecting your franchise quarterback. And I feel like that's going to be the Jaguars. And I will say, with Mike Vrabel, there's a nice little link there that links the two teams that we don't like, which is them and the Jaguars, and that's Urban Meyer and Ohio State. So there's that little tiny connection. It's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see where the division shakes out. I think we're all in agreement that the Texans are going to be a dumpster fire. They just are. Cool. We don't get into all of the stuff with Deshaun on this show. We've settled on he's not playing for the Texans. I don't know who. I don't know if it's because he's traded or suspended, but he's not playing for the Texans, and they're going to be a dumpster fire. I think I've gone on record that I think the Jaguars, they might be improved, but I don't see them taking that step this year. I think, Zach, you said they're more of a next year kind of team probably.
Hey, if Watson doesn't play this year, they might go 0-16, man. They're like that.
It's a good year to do it because I don't like any of the quarterbacks.
They'll probably skate through. Those teams always end up winning one game for whatever reason, but they're probably getting the first pick. They're not probably. They are getting the first pick in next year's draft. They're just not going to be good at all. And Bill O'Brien just did them just terrible, man. Put them in, just strapped them with all of their draft capital and everything.
I miss him.
Yeah.
As a Colts fan, I miss him.
Yeah, you can always count on him messing things up at the end of the game for sure. But yeah, it's going to be it's crazy how this season, Stephen, before all of this came out, how we thought to ourselves in positioning our team and how we were going to build our football team. We thought going into the offseason that the Colts were going to have to contend with Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence for the next 10 or 12 years. And then Ryan Tannehill, who's solid, not great, but solid. I mean, you want to talk about a hell of a division right there to have to go up against every single year. And now you lose Watson, probably from the Texans, might not even play half a season in NFL this year, period. And then you've got Trevor Lawrence, who's young, so you still should be able to kind of jump out on him the first few years anyways. I think the Colts are the front runner this year, man. I just do. I think we're going to take over. We're built for, we're going to have a hell of a running game this year. Marlon Mack's going to be a nice, injection, a nice speed guy on the edge to break things off as Jonathan Taylor needs a breather and Hines as well. Man, I'm just excited. I know I'm a homer, but I mean, as people get to know this podcast and people get to listen to me, especially in season, I'm not a knee-jerk type of guy, man. Like I just call it how I see it. And I've went on the record saying that I don't think the Indianapolis Colts will win the Super Bowl this year, but I think we're going to be a damn good football team, man. I really do. I think he's built something special here. We gotta have Pittman Jr. take that next step. I already believe we have a top 5 running back already. I just think Jonathan Taylor is a monster, man. I mean, he's everything you want. He has the speed, the skill, and he practices just so hard. I mean, he's the type of guy that you don't have to go out every single day and you have to worry about him. He takes care of himself, man. I just think we have a really good opportunity. It all boils down to Carson, right? Like, I mean, that's what if this trade falls flat on our face, I mean, it is what it is. But as long as Carson can just play within himself, I think Frank Reich has said it before. He doesn't have to be crazy special. He just has to make the right play. Which is special. When you make the right play and you don't turn the football over, then that makes you a special quarterback. So yeah, man, I'm excited to see about it, man. But I'll get off that, that train of Mike Brave on the Tennessee Titans. But
hey, I've enjoyed it, man. I think we're gonna add a new segment that's called Zach's Rants.
Okay.
Because I dug that. So you saying that, and me and you are both on record that if we get 2017 Carson, I'm not shy of saying that I think they'd be possibly playing in the Super Bowl with that. But where do we see? So something me and Zach talked about, and I want to get your guys for everyone who knows, Mason and Ian have no clue. I'm getting ready to ask them this, so I'm going to put them on the spot. What are the top 4 teams, man? What are the top 4 teams Zach, me and you were talking about this. Do we want to do NFL or do we just want to do AFC?
The top 4, rank your top 4 AFC teams right now.
Yeah, let's get
start
some
with
instant
Mason,
gut
man.
reaction.
Let's
see
what
you guys come up with.
All right. Chiefs. Okay. Bills. All right. And then I'm gonna have to go with Browns. And then yeah, dude. I would say 4th would be either us or the Ravens, in my opinion.
I like that. I like the Browns. I like that pick. That's a good one. Ian, what about you, man? What do you got?
Yeah, no order or anything, but I say Chiefs, Bills, Colts. And yeah, I'm torn between Ravens or Browns for that 4th spot.
I like it. It's very similar. Zach, what about you, man?
Wow, I'm just gonna go chalk here, I guess. But so I'm gonna rank them though. I'm gonna go Chiefs. This is how I think season's gonna shake out. Chiefs, we're gonna be the number 2 team. The Bills will be the number 3 team, and I think the Browns will be the number 4 team. I actually am one person who's kind of went on record. I think this year Lamar Jackson is going to actually take a step back. I know he's so fun to watch, man. I mean, he's just an electric athlete, but I think teams are finally starting to figure out his style and the way he plays, his patterns. You saw it kind of with Colin Kaepernick several years back. Teams just couldn't figure him out for the first couple of years. Just what was he going to do? When was he going to throw? When was he going to run? But I think teams are slowly starting to realize we're going to take this away from him and really limit the way that he plays the football game and really just make him a passer. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have to live with Lamar Jackson beating you as a passer. And if he does, well, good on him, man. I mean, you just lost the football game, and that's just how it shakes out. But, yeah, I think that the Ravens will be up there. They're probably the obvious natural 5. There's always a team like the Dolphins or somebody who's going to slide in. But I'm going to tell you right now, if anybody in the league, and I hate saying this as much as anybody, if anybody's sleeping on the New England Patriots, they've lost their minds, because the Patriots will be a team this year much different than last year, I feel, in my mind. I think Belichick really took it personal when he lost. It really killed his ego to see, Tom Brady go all the way and win that Super Bowl. And there's always been that question. How would Tom be without Bill? Who's better? Who needed each other more? I think it means just as much to Bill and his legacy to go out and prove he can produce a Super Bowl winning team minus that type of quarterback and that actual quarterback. I don't know that gets done. I hope like hell it doesn't ever get done. But I'm going to tell you right now, the Patriots will not be an easy out this year. I think he's built a team. He kind of went back. You remember kind of the early wonder years where he had 2 really elite tight ends, and he went out and signed 2 elite tight ends. I hate to even mention, Hernandez's name on here, but he did have Gronk and Hernandez, and they were super, super. It was just almost impossible to stop those 2 tight ends at once. So he kind of built his model off of that team as well. We'll see, man. It's going to be a cool season. But what do you got, man? Where you at?
So I'm similar, man. Great minds think alike, man. That's why we do this on a weekly basis. Me and you, Zach, is that you have to have Mahomes and the Chiefs as one. You hear the reports. He's ahead of schedule with his surgery. The Super Bowl with him. All you got to think of is parallel to the ground, and he still hit the receiver.
Bro, that's the saddest thing that ever happened, like, of the whole season, like, that he didn't actually catch that football. Like, why did you not catch – I mean, that would have been the most incredible pass.
It would have been like the head catch, It would have been playing on NFL films over and over. I mean, the guy is ridiculous, and all they did was reload, and just continue to add talent. So they're number one. Man, I'm going to go Colts too, We did our picks, and me and Zach are really similar. I think you have 14-3, I have 13-4. So I think they're up there. I'm going to have the Bills, and I'm going to have the Browns. I can't do the Ravens, you guys. I'm going to piggyback on what Zach was saying. I don't think Lamar Jackson is a good enough quarterback. He has not shown, in my mind, the ability to actually rely solely on his arm. And I think, Zach, you had a great point when it came to him was teams catch up to players. They caught up to Cam Newton. They catch up to these running quarterbacks. They're looking to be – they caught up to RG3. You catch up to these players, and there's one quarterback that's a running quarterback that pops in my mind, and Zach knows where I'm going with this because I kind of went on a rant because I hate the comparison of Lamar Jackson to Michael Vick, because Michael Vick had a cannon for an arm. That's the one running quarterback that no one ever really seemed to catch up to in their playbook. But it's because he's a once-in-a-lifetime player. And Lamar Jackson is not that. I don't think he's that good. My family's Florida State fans. I watched Lamar Jackson at Louisville. I think he's an amazing runner. I think they run the ball really well. I'm interested to see how they look with that, with the departure of Mark Ingram. But the only reason I think that they're going to be up higher is the other teams in that division. I think the Steelers are going to be horrendous this year. And I think the Bengals are going to be better, but obviously not good enough to contend. It's a weak division in my mind outside of the top 2. But I also think, and this is nowhere near, but I think the Browns are head and shoulders above the Ravens, in my opinion, talent-wise, team-wise. So, I mean, that's my 4. I think it's a great point you bring about the Patriots too. It's like vinegar coming out of my mouth. I don't like to say anything good about the Patriots. I can't. No, we're just gonna move on because I can't say anything good about them. But they're there. They'll be there. It's Bill Belichick, man. I mean, let's not forget with Cam Newton. I could talk about him, but Cam Newton signed late, got COVID, and was never really fully healthy. So, I mean, he's going to have an entire offseason in this offense for them to really shape it around him. So it's going to be interesting to see how they come out of the gate. So, okay. So you guys are going to join me and Zach for probably our favorite segment. Wouldn't you say, Zach?
Absolutely, man. This is awesome.
It is the social media sessions. It is powered by One Call Technology. One Call Technology is an amazing sponsor of ours. They are a leading telecommunication provider. Their technicians and their employees have over 100 years of experience in the field. Telecommunications, you guys hear me say it all the time, that is phone service, that's phone systems. If you think you're paying too much on a bill, if your business is paying too much on a bill, you go to onecalltech.com, you hit the contact us, you let them take a look at it for free. It's $0 for them to actually take a look at it, see if they can save you some money and get you in a better system. Again, that's One Call Technology. So, social media sessions for you guys. You guys are going to get to answer some of these questions. We always put out an ask to all of our lovely listeners. It's always been since day one for questions. And, man, it is anything and everything. Nothing is off limits. We've had questions about black jerseys. We've had questions questioning Ballard and if he's worth it. So we're gonna kind of go through a couple of them. We'll go around. Everyone's going to get a chance to answer. So first up, we have Mark Scott, and his question is kind of as it pertained to the poll. So he wants to know, do we see Wentz having the same kind of production? Well, it's in pertain to the poll because he linked it to it, but it was a question mainly about Wentz. So sorry about that. But his question is, do we think that Wentz will have the same kind of production that Rivers had last year? Do we see that? So let's kind of make it a two-parter question. Do you think he can have the same kind of production? And do you think that's good enough in our minds for him to have the same kind of production as Rivers? So, Zach, let's start with you and we'll work our way around, man.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's a great question right there. Was that Mark you said, by the way?
Yeah.
Shout out to Mark, man. Thanks for asking that question. Yes, I do actually. I think he's going to add an element to his game. And really the only two things that, Philip struggled with last year was arm strength and mobility. And that's really what you get with Carson. You get the arm strength and the mobility. So you're probably going to see Carson Wentz take off for a couple first downs this year, extend some plays, throw the ball further. Stat-wise, I feel like Carson is going to be slightly better than Philip, but it's going to be pretty comparable because I think that Frank Reich wants Carson to play a lot like Philip did last year. We all saw Philip start that season. He had a horrible game early on, and then he kind of settled down, right? I mean, he just kind of came into his own, and Frank had such a good rapport with his quarterback because he is a quarterback. That's the biggest thing for Frank. Frank is a quarterback. He's a professional quarterback. He sees the field. He knows what they're thinking, how to diagnose those plays. And for me, with Carson, he needs someone to challenge him, but also encourage him to make the right play and see the game the way that the head coach Frank Reich sees the football game, and hey, this is the right play. This is where you made the mistake. Once he capitalizes on the mental aspect of the game, I think sky's the limit for Carson Wentz. But I think really, it's just trying to be a cop-out, but it's going to be a very similar season to Frank or to Philip Rivers. I just think wins are going to be very similar. I think we might have a slightly more wins this year because I think we have just a better football team when it comes down to it. And as maturity goes as a season, you don't lose those games that you should have won. You don't start the season and lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars as a team's been together longer and there's more leaders in that room, and then your talent level starts rising up. I think similar stats, but slightly better is where I'm going with it, Mark. Where you at, Mason?
I would say that I think Carson Wentz not easily get. It depends on the percentage of pass plays that Frank Reich calls, but I think that he should be able to beat Philip Rivers' threshold stats, and I think that he should be able to at least get more than 30 touchdowns passing. I know we're going to run the ball a lot, but with the addition of our 7th-round wide receiver and Paris Campbell coming back and signing T.Y. and getting Grayson, like, I really think, like, we're going to be, maybe 60% passing, 70% passing, 30 to 40% running. And a lot of those carries are going to go to Jonathan Taylor. And we may even throw the ball to him a lot. I mean, as you guys seen that Twitter post about jokingly calling Taylor a wide receiver 1. Like, imagine if he gets 50 receptions. Like, I think the possibilities for our offense to expand its potential from last year are high. And I really think that Carson Wentz, like you guys said, if he goes back to 2017 form, could really propel this offense to its limits because, last year we didn't really have much of a deep attack. Wentz gives us that. And I think a lot of yardage and a lot of touchdowns could come via the deep ball this year.
I like it. Ian, what about you, man?
Yeah, I think he'll definitely be able to exceed what Phillip Rivers did last year, but with all the running talent we have, he's not going to have to do much more than Phillip Rivers did. We're going to be dynamic on offense, be able to throw the ball whenever we want to, and then run it down people's throats with our 3-headed monster in that backfield. So, yeah, he's going to exceed Phillip Rivers' numbers, but he's not going to have to try hard to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm similar in that I think the numbers are going to be really close because I think that it is how Frank wants to run his offense. He wants to run. He's going to want to run. The offense is not going to run through Carson. It's going to run through Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion. It's going to run through him. He's going to get the carries. He's going to get the lion's share of the carries. And Carson's not going to be asked to be superhero. I think there'll be probably more touchdowns. I do think that's because I think he's going to be able to push the ball down the field. I mean, I've been on record. I think Paris Campbell has 1,000 yards receiving this year, so that's got to come somewhere. But I think it's going to be similar. I'll tell you kind of a cop-out stat. I do think he's going to get sacked more than Phillip Rivers. I've kind of come out and said that, but I don't think that has anything to do with Costanzo retiring. I don't think it has anything to do with the line being worse. I think it's simply due to the fact that Carson's going to scramble. So he's going to open himself up more to taking those hits probably because he's going to try to extend plays. So, I mean, it's a cop-out. I'm with you, Zach. It kind of feels like a little bit of a cop-out to say it, but I think it's going to be really, really similar. Probably some more touchdowns. Honestly, probably more picks, because he's definitely not more daring than Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers feels like even at his age, he could make every throw, every down, every game. And I think Carson has that same kind of mentality, but he's not going to have to. He's not going to have that mentality because I just don't think the offense is going to run through him. Frank's going to put him in the best position to succeed. So, again, it was a great question, Mark. Thank you. You want to send them in next time, we'll answer again. Okay, so next up, it's kind of a fun one. Austin. His question is, do we see – so it's relevant to today's topic too. Do we see them making any other moves at wide receiver? Because we have a history of our receivers getting hurt. And right now our depth looks fantastic. We've run it down. Like I said, we struggled with who's 5, who would 6 be. I love Strawn, the 7th-round pick, but he's a practice squad kind of hide is what we've kind of settled on. He's not going to make the roster. He's got a lot to do right now to improve. But let's not say Julio. Okay, let's not. We talked about that. Do we see them making another little move at wide receiver? Ian, what do you think, man?
I mean, if we did go after Julio, that'd be the only wide receiver move I could see us making. I'm not entirely sure who else is out there. I mean, I think Dez might be out there, but I don't know who is even looking his direction at all. Yeah, if it's not Julio, I don't see us signing any other wide receiver.
Mason, what do you think, man?
Honestly, yeah. I'm gonna side with Ian on this. I don't think the Colts are gonna go after a wide receiver just because, like I've been saying, and like you just mentioned, we took that 7th-round pick, and we also have JJ Nelson. Like, we have a lot of wide receivers on the depth chart, and I know, like, a lot of them are depth pieces, and not we don't know, like you're saying, where the depth chart is going to be. But in order for the Colts to sign a wide receiver and for us to think that that's going to happen, it has to be a game-changing wide receiver. And besides Julio, there aren't any wide receivers right now that are on the market that could be a benefit to the Colts, in my opinion. And Julio would obviously be the number one benefit. And you guys know that I'm on the Julio train. So unless it's Julio, I don't see it.
Okay. Zach, man, what do you think?
Nah, I don't see it happening, man. Just for the reasons that we kind of alluded to earlier. It stunts the growth of your young, talented wide receivers. You want to see what you got there. You want to see if you've got your future pieces in place before next offseason. So you need to know either I need to go draft and acquire another guy, or I need to go out in free agency and sign a guy. So, unless something crazy happened and we were to sign a guy like Julio, it just doesn't make sense for us. I mean, we may end up, get into training camp, somebody gets hurt, and then we got to go out and get a veteran body or something like that. But I don't think we're looking to add anybody there. I think they're quite comfortable with that room. We talked about the big four, right? Pascal, T.Y., Pittman Jr., and then Paris Campbell. Those are the four I think they've settled in on. And then they want to play with those four guys, and then let those tight ends, and then let Nyheim Hines kind of be an offset, wide receiver. I think they're good, man. I mean, long story short, I think they're good at wide receiver, and I think what you see right now is what you're going to get in season.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I don't see it. They've got talent on the roster that they already like to. We've talked about battling for the fifth of, Desmond Patman, Ashton Doolin, Michael Strawn's out there. There's talent they have. Ballard likes the in-house talent. I think I side with Zach on that. The only thing I see is if something were to happen when we get to training camp, I'm going to steal your term, Zach, again, of a soft body, somebody that they just kind of bring in to kind of hold over depending on what that injury is. So we're going to hit one more question, you guys, and I want to make a specific point. This is from Jason Spear. And he's got like 6 inside this question. So we're going to break it up because every single one is freaking awesome. And I want to make sure we get to them. So we're going to spread them out. We'll probably, Zach, me and you will probably hit them on the next episode too. So the one that I like the most, because it's just kind of out of left field, is can Okereke and others make up for Walker's absence? Do we see Okereke essentially taking another step? Zach? What do you got, man?
So from a leadership standpoint, I don't think that's going to have to be Okereke's responsibility. I think Darius Leonard's going to take that over. Just early indicators. I see flash Darius Leonard T-shirt, as you should. I think the Maniac, it's his defense. He's going to take control of it. But from a physical standpoint, the ability to play just football, sideline to sideline, it gives you that element of that long athletic guy out there. Absolutely. Because for me, as much as I like Walker, here's the deal. He was a liability in the passing game. Teams late in the season realized that they could leak tight ends and running backs out of the backfield. And when they could catch him one-on-one, I mean, he just got caught slipping so many times, especially goal line. That was one of the kind of the things late in the season teams were doing to us. They were identifying that the Colts wanted him on there on goal line possessions because of obviously he's a downhill player, and they want to take full advantage of building concepts to attack him in the passing game and catch a guy out of the backfield, especially on the sideline. You remember a couple passes late in the season, catch the ball, diving towards the pylon. He's just not a good enough athlete to get out there in space and cover him. So as far as talent level, I think Okereke takes that step. but I don't think he'll be asked to take that leadership role, honestly. I think, and I don't think you'll replace that leader 100%, just because I think Anthony Walker is a damn good football player. And really, I feel like if Anthony Walker ever goes to a 4-3 defense and gets to play that true middle linebacker role where he doesn't have to worry about all that other stuff and he can just play downhill all the time, that suits him best. And he's a really good football player, man. I mean, I'm a fan. I just think that the Colts had to make the right move and let him go and let Okereke take that next step.
Yeah. Ian, what about you, man?
Yeah, I definitely think physically Okereke is going to take that next step. I always loved watching whenever he came in and whenever Walker needed a breather. He's physical, he's fast, he's smart too on the defensive end. He knows where to be positioned. He can cover well, can cover better than Walker in my mind. So, like you said, Zach, Leonard's going to be the clear-cut leader in that linebacker room, but Okereke, I can definitely see him taking that next step.
Yeah. Mason, what about you, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to side with Zach and Ian in saying that I think Okereke has the physical capabilities to obviously take the next step forward, as well as that he's very cerebral, and like Ian said, Zach, he covers the pass very well. He's able to position himself well, and he's very good at reading the defense. But personally, I think that he can only add to the leadership role. Obviously, it's Darius Leonard's defense, and he's the one that controls the defense, and he's the captain, and he motivates them and tweeted out all this offseason like, hey, if you're coming to Indianapolis, you play with the grind, you play with the grit to win. But obviously, one player can't be the full leader of the middle linebacker corps. So I feel like having a tag team duo, like how Darius Leonard and Walker were like that duo, that tight duo, I feel like you guys, Okereke stepping into that secondary spot, being that 1B to Leonard's 1A, is only going to make our defense stronger.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as all you guys. I don't think he's going to be asked to kind of step into that leadership role. I think it's important to point out, play-wise, he was out-snapping Walker by a hefty margin last year already. He was already he already kind of took that position. That's why Walker left. No shame, no problem. I love Anthony Walker. He was a great pick. He's a great person. A fantastic player. He's Darius Leonard's best friend probably on the team too. But he wanted to go start, and he deserved it. So I think Okereke, his talent level is above the ceiling that Walker was at. It's going to be really interesting to watch him this year. I think he's going to step in. I don't think it's going to really miss a beat. I'm looking forward to kind of seeing it. So, all right. So you guys know, as always, with social media sessions, you guys know how to find us. It's at No Horsing, at Stephen Burton 86. Zach is at Colt Nation 365. Mason, Ian, what do you? I want to give you guys a chance really quick here at the end to kind of tell them where they can listen to you guys. Tell them where they can find you guys. Y'all go listen, listen to what they have to say. Go ahead.
So I'll go first, and then I'll let Ian finish. Guys, Ian and I, we hosted the Loser Lounge podcast, and Loser Lounge podcast is on Anchor, it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts, and any of the main podcasting apps you could think of. And it's a sports podcast that goes over not only football and Colts football, but it talks about basketball, baseball, anything going on within the sports world at that time. We like to talk about it because Ian and I like multiple sports, and we love our teams, and we're diehard fans. So we want diehard fans to listen to us and to enjoy our commentary. And I just want to thank Zach and Stephen for letting us on the podcast. I always enjoyed talking with Stephen, and I'm very appreciative of this opportunity.
Yeah, Steven's pretty much the one that got me and Mason together, starting the podcast. On Twitter, you can find us at loser_lounge. We always post whenever a new episode's up. maybe we'll start what you guys are doing and have a little question and answer segment at the end of our podcast.
Hey, anytime, social media sessions, I'll tell you guys this, I was really excited to have them on. Obviously, I've talked to Mason since before he even started the podcast. Thank you for the nice words, man. I mean, I'm glad I could hook you guys up, and I enjoy listening to you guys. Y'all go check them out. Same thing that you do with us. Make sure you guys rate, review, subscribe, share, follow, hit the 5 stars, write a review, however you guys are going to do it. Make sure you do it for us, do it for them. It's how we know how we're doing. It's how they know how they're doing. It's how we know if we're covering the topics that you guys want covered. As always, I like to kind of pass it to Zach. Zach, I'm going to let you pump the merch again, man. We're always going to try to do that.
Hell yeah, man. So just guys, don't forget, man, check our merch out. The link's in our link tree. It's on the No Horsing podcast link tree on Twitter. You can check all of our stuff out. I just want to give a big shout out to some of the people that were on YouTube. We're getting more and more comments on YouTube, getting a lot more traction and feedback. Go there. If you're a visual fan, you want to see us, you want to see me just come on here and just light the show on fire when Stephen and talk him off the ledge when he talks about, Trevor Lawrence not being as good as Andy Dalton. Well, then go there, go to YouTube, comment, or just stay here, comment, give us rate, review, like. And it's always a pleasure having people on, right, Stephen? I mean,
Absolutely.
That's why we do it. I've always in saying that, we are fans. At first and foremost, we are fans. We do it for the fans. And it's so cool when we get to kind of gather and have the Colts community come together and being on here. So cool to have, Ian and Mason on this podcast. Sometimes that's the most fun thing to do, man, just to get out there and just talk football or just talk ball in general. So it was a pleasure having everybody on here tonight. And we're just grateful, Stephen and I mean, from the bottom of my heart, we're just grateful for the feedback. Every show grows. Everything's getting bigger. And we've always said this from the very beginning, and I'll end with this. Even if you don't like what we're saying, we want to hear from you, man. I mean, we want to know. That's what's great about sports. It's just a discussion, right? It's just a conversation that we have amongst each other. Because at the end of the day, it all ties back for us anyways to the horseshoe. It all ties back to just us loving the team, and we all have that one common thing. So outside of that, man, I'm out. I feel great about the podcast and the future where it's going, and we look forward to talking to you very, very soon.
Absolutely. And y'all know how we always end this. I love you. Zach loves you. We're out.